Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5-Off, 5-On Racing Show. Welcome to another night of Race Talk. I'll have some things we're going to talk about. It's going to be kind of interesting this evening. And, you know, it's you look back on things and you sit back and you say, wow. And I'm saying wow because I was duped. Imagine that. I was duped. And I'm going to tell you how I was duped. Recently, the Modified Touring Series posted a promotional video on social media. And according to RaceDayConnecticut.com, they touted the youngest driver on the tour at 14 years old. That driver being Andrew Muller of Shelton, Connecticut. Now, on July 2nd, 2016, just shy of a year ago, Muller won his first SK Light modified feature at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl in Connecticut. It was determined that Muller was too young, that his parents had lied about his age to NASCAR, earning Muller an indefinite suspension by NASCAR. It was determined that Muller was only 13 years old at the time, and the minimum age to compete in NASCAR's learner's permit level is 14. And Muller's father continued to argue with social media, newspapers, anybody that would listen, that his son was 15 at the time. Inravio.com, with the 505-On Racing Show at Bethel Motor Speedway last year, interviewed Andrew Muller, who said emphatically that he was 15 years old. NASCAR was wrong, and all the doubters were wrong. And at that point, he kind of ended his interview by saying, "It's out of our hands. We'll let our lawyers handle this. I am old enough." Now, the only time I saw the earth spin the other way is on an old Superman episode from the 50s where he was able to take a day away. Well, this kid, how are you 15 one year and then a year later be 14? This kid duped us all. This kid should not, and his family should not be used in promotional advertising, because what is the truth? Which age is this young man? Is he 15? Is he 14? Is he 12? I don't know. When I interviewed him, now I'm a good judge of how old people are, and when I interviewed this kid, he looked like 12 or 13 years old. However, he was well schooled in what he said, how he answered my questions, how he deliberately took it's like, how do I say this? Like when I asked a question, he went and then answered. When I asked another question, he answered. If I asked too many questions in a row, he would choose which one he would answer and do. It was almost like he was waiting for his dad to say, "Don't answer that question." The kid was schooled. He was schooled on what to say, how to say it, because you can't say you're one age and fight NASCAR, who, well, let me tell you something, I'd rather fight City Hall. You got a better chance of winning. But to fight NASCAR and emphatically say that he was, at the time, old enough to be in a modified at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl and have a NASCAR license, this kid and his family should be banned from racing. And the reason I say this is they've doctored birth certificates, school records, anything that has the age of them on it has been doctored, has been altered. What's to say that they're not doctoring their race cars and and cheating. Here's a kid, he was just a kid, 12, 13 years old, wins an SK light modified race. And that wasn't his first event. He had already raced competitively in that series at the SK Lights at other racetracks. This is not right, and I'll tell you what, and I don't normally say this, but my hat's off to NASCAR for pushing this issue and not allowing him to race. And I'll tell you what, if this series, the Modified Touring Series, shows up at any NASCAR facility as a series, this kid should not be allowed in the pit area. It's just my opinion. Don't lie. You got caught. Just say that. And I'll tell you what, when my daughter was going up, just leaving the EKRA and going into the NASCAR ranks, we were going to have May, June, and July, 3 months she couldn't race because she wasn't old enough. And I'm going to admit this, for a brief moment, I sat there with the NASCAR license application, and I said to myself, who's going to know? And then I said, you know what, it's not worth it. We're not running for points. We're not trying to be the series champion or the division champion. Let's just wait to the day that she turns 16 and go racing. And with the help of, Rich Johnson, we were able to work some things out and put a car together to race in places that you could race at 15. We did it right. We did it right, because God forbid my daughter would have been hurt, and I would have felt horrible, number one. Number two, NASCAR wouldn't have paid any of the bills because we lied. And the hospitals, the records would have been all messed up. So it was best to just wait till she was old enough, and that's what we did. And the day she turned 16, happened to be a Saturday night, we loaded up the race car, we went to Riverhead. But this whole thing, see, you know, I've always said it, and people always said it, the truth always comes out. Don't be the star promotional guy saying you're 14 when you said you were 15 last year. That's all I'm saying, and it's just not right. It's just not right. And you know, and NASCAR, a lot of people put NASCAR down and say they're no good and they're all about the money. Let me tell you something. I'm going to say this again, and people in my inner circle know that. You know, NASCAR was very, very good to me when I was injured in a NASCAR event at a NASCAR facility. They were very good to me. They helped my family. They helped pay the bills. And the bills are astronomical. And for those who don't know the way that works in NASCAR, first of all, you can't sue a facility, you can't sue NASCAR. When you sign your license, there's a reason why you sign your license in two places. Nobody ever reads it. They fill out the front, name, address, business, phone number, then they fill out the back, and they turn it over and they just sign their name. They don't read any of that stuff. And when they sign into the local racetrack pit area at the back gate, and they just sign, last NASCAR number, print and sign. Okay, good, we're good to go. Nobody reads what that says. You can't sue them. It's like suing your employer. You can't sue your employer. You get hurt at work, there's comp. But we're independent contractors as race car drivers, and we're not covered by any of that stuff. So what NASCAR does is, if you have insurance, your insurance is used first. Many of us, and this is before the Obamacare days and this craziness with managed care, it was 20 years ago. You go whoever you want to go to. My insurance company paid deductibles, co-pays, what have you, to a limit. My deductibles were covered by NASCAR. My co-pays were covered by NASCAR. Anything that my insurance company did not pay, NASCAR paid. They paid my babysitter. They paid my mileage to and from. If my wife at the time had to take off from work, they paid her for the day's pay. They paid for incidentals that aren't normally covered by any insurance company. And they paid those fees for 3 solid years. I went to physical therapy almost every day once the cast came off, and they paid for that. They were good. And there's rules and things you have to do to follow for NASCAR to pay these things, which is a lot of these competitors, you know, I broke my wrist, NASCAR's taking care of it. I'm going to race Saturday. Once you compete again after that injury, your NASCAR benefits stop. Because if you're good enough to race, you don't need treatment anymore. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of things that people make a mistake when it comes to that. Oh, I tried to, they didn't pay me. Did you do the right thing? Did you notify NASCAR? Did you fill out paperwork? Did you file a claim? If you didn't do all those things, you're not covered. And if you lie and say you're 15 when you're 14, you're not covered. It's as simple as that. And we all know racing is a dangerous sport. People get hurt and injured, and unfortunately some get crippled and some get killed, unfortunately. And that's a whole different ballgame. But we know that when we strap into a race car, we know that, hey, something could happen. It's probably not going to when you think of the thousands of men and women who race at racetracks all over the world. Think about how many are racing and the percent of injuries in those races. I know guys who race 20, 30 times a year for 20, 30 years, never once, knock wood, were injured. I know some guys raced once or twice, they got injured. But it's just the way it's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast, and we have to understand that. And NASCAR is a serious business. NASCAR does not play games with ages and filling out paperwork. They're a stickler to those rules, just as they are a stickler to the race car rules. And I'll tell you what, a friend of mine was DQ'd this past weekend for being 1/8 of an inch too low. 0.125 inches too low after a race. After a race. They don't allow for tire wear, they don't allow for a soft spring. They roll it and measure, too low, sorry, DQ'd. I'm like, wow, wow. It's one of those things, and you really have to take a look at this person and wonder, eventually this is gonna catch up. You can't say you're one age this year and be a year younger the year after. It can't happen. It can't happen. And Jay Slice, welcome. You know, travel baseball is the same way. Well, my daughter played soccer. My daughter Megan years ago played soccer. She was a big girl. She was a big girl. She was bigger than most of the kids her age. And every time we showed up at a tournament, we had to show her birth certificate. And you're talking, wow, 25 years ago, if not more. And you know, it's easy to make that stuff, not like today. But you know, yep, I was ready. I had copies of it. Boom, here you go. Here's a birth certificate. She's old enough. She's in, you know, 3rd grade, and that 3rd grade person is, you know, I think 8 years old, whatever it was. You're not doing your kid any good by cheating in that way. And I say that, you know, especially in racing, you're mentally not prepared to put up with that competition, that side-by-side racing. You're just not mentally ready for that. At 13 years old, I was riding my bicycle, and we raced our bicycles, but we weren't going 150 miles an hour, and we weren't doing that 150 miles an hour on a half-mile racetrack. People need to be careful. People need to do the right thing. And I'll tell you what, you got me, Mola. You got me. I believed you. I believed in you. I reported on this show with that interview that, you know, this is the real deal. And then we find out that you're the you're the poster child for the youngest guy in the series. Come on. You deserve what you get now. And you know what? When you show up at a NASCAR racetrack, I hope to throw you out. We'll be back.
Hey, what's I said was gonna say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Music Shop of Master. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, this weekend wasn't kind to the racing families here, as the racing community here in Long Island lost three of its finest. William Bonsignor, grandfather of NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour standout Justin Bonsignor, and the father of Bill, Frank, and Tom Bonsignor. Tom Bonsignor, very big in the Eastern Go-Kart Racing Association as a parts supplier. Frank Bonsignor, an engine builder, Motion Pro race engines for the go-karters. My daughter had one of his motors in it. And Bill Bonsignor, who was a Snap-on dealer here on Long Island. All three are down south, loving life, but their dad was taken away. Justin's granddad was taken away this past weekend. Actually, I believe it was Thursday. And it's sad. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Bonsignor. In fact, he wasn't into racing, and I remember we went to TGI Fridays after go-karts or something, some racing event, and just sitting there listening to him talk about the races, and it just wasn't one of those things that he liked. And my dad was the same way, but he was a great man. He raised a good family, and he was loved by anybody he touched. And good friend of mine, big Mike DeBello. Mike DeBello worked for Pete's Auto Body and Towing over in Westbury, and Mike was always good to me from the first day I ever met him. And the first day I ever met him, he had the jaws of life taking me out of my race car after that horrific crash in '96. And he's one of the few people I remember talking to while I was, surrounded in scrap metal. And he just kept saying as he was cutting the jaws of life, "Don't worry, you'll be okay." And he lost his life Saturday night, just minutes before the green flag dropped for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event at the Riverhead Raceway, which will have the results shortly. And this morning, Papa Joe Biondolillo, also known as Joe Pesner, who helped many a figure-8 racer and late model and charger and street stock and modified racer here on Long Island at the Islip Speedway and the Riverhead Raceway. Papa Joe ran a junkyard in Long Island and Central Islip on what was called Suffolk Avenue. And I'll tell you what, one of my first dealings with him, I needed a body for my race car. I had a quick story, and he goes, "Oh, go to Joe Pesner," because that's what they call him. Go to Joe Pesner, he's over there in Suffolk Avenue, and he'll help you out. So I go, and I tell him what I'm looking for, and he goes, "All right, let me find one for you. I'll give you a call." He calls, he decides, and I go. And I said, "What do I owe you for this?" He goes, I don't know. Take the car, take the body, whatever you don't use, bring back, and we'll figure it out." So we go, we take the body, we take and use what we have to use, and now I got to figure out a way to get it back to him, and I do. And I knew I had to pay him something, and I had my hands in my pockets, and the true story, and he says to me, he goes, "I hope you're playing pocket pool because you're reaching for money, get them out of here." And I looked at him, he goes, "Get out of here," because I help everybody. And he did. So three of three guys we lost them, So our prayers go out to the Bonsignor family, the DeBello family, and the Biondolillo family. They touched all of us in racing. And Mike DeBello, quick story about him as well. He was our backstretch official when I was the head official at Riverhead Raceway way back in the old days. And he was the guy that walked out of turn 2 to the backstretch, and he pointed to the start-finish line or to turn 3 for a restart, depending on which part of the race was. And that's what he did. And he was my eyes up in turn 2. When some little nonsense went on, he'd call me on a different channel. Yeah, he got him, he took him out, it was a racing deal. Well, one day there was one driver who was being really, I'm going to say stupid. His helmet was way too tight, and it was just squeezing his brain. And Mike had to rip him a new one. He had to yell at him. So Mike takes off his headset, rips the window net down, and as he leans into the car to yell at this driver, he hit the press to talk button, and it was touching the door. And for a good 5 minutes, he ripped this driver. When I say he ripped, he went up one side or the other and down the other and did not stop. Did not stop. And the driver couldn't say anything. And all of a sudden, he steps away, puts his headset back on, walks away, and the driver, drives away because he knew he was wrong. And I said on the radio, I said, Mike, your radio is key, man. But I'm not going to say anymore because after you yelled at him, I'm scared now. And everybody got on the radio and said the same thing. The funny things that you remember. But again, prayers to the Bonsignor family, the DeBello family, and the Beyond DeLillo family. These guys will be missed. But keep those memories here, and you'll always have them. So anyway. Some good news. Lisa France Kennedy was honored by Adweek magazine's list of 30 most powerful women in sports. Kennedy, CEO of the International Speedway Corp and vice chairman of NASCAR, made this list for the second time in 2 years. 2 years ago, Kennedy was also chosen as the most powerful woman in sports in a survey conducted by Forbes magazine. So I'll tell you what, I don't think that Brian is going to be around as long as his father and grandfather were at the helm. And I think next in line is going to be Lisa France Kennedy. And you're going to see a different NASCAR if she takes over. Trust me on this one. Trust me. More good news in the racing world. New London's Waterford Speed Bowl reopened this past Saturday night as a big crowd came out for its 2017 opener, which had been in doubt. Owner Bruce Beamer was arrested for allegedly having a decades-long prostitution ring that he ran, bringing people in from overseas, young boys, young children, and he was caught. The racetrack was shut down, and NASCAR pulled its sanctioning from the Speed Bowl in Southern Connecticut. New track operator George Whitney said the car counts were light, only 13 SK modifieds as opposed to 20 that they averaged every week last year, which is their feature division. There were 78 cars in the pits in 5 divisions, plus the Valente Modified Series with 19 in the pit area for their touring race as well. Now, NASCAR pulled its sanctioning when Bruce Beamer was arrested, even though you're innocent until proven guilty, but NASCAR doesn't want to be associated with that kind of stuff, so they pulled the sanctioning. The new management group, headed by George Whitney, had sought to get that NASCAR sanction back. NASCAR said no. People were up in arms over this, up in arms, and you want to be part of that NASCAR thing. And it's funny, somebody wrote on social media, the same people complaining that NASCAR won't support the New London Waterford Speed Bowl are the same people saying that NASCAR is no good. But anyway, I have to understand this, NASCAR puts its stuff together and they make their plannings, and some racetracks in North America, every year, there's a renegotiation. Okay, this is the sanction fee, here's the NASCAR banner. Some are multi-year deals. There's no lifelong forever deals. There's no grandfather clauses that, because you're a NASCAR tracker this year, you're going to be one next year. But people are up in arms. Now, understand this. Now, the London Waterford Speed Bowl historically has had issues, has had problems, whether you want to say mismanaged, bad management, financial problems, whatever you want to call it, they've always had problems. I know some drivers who still haven't been paid from events they raced at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl, what it was called just the Waterford Speed Bowl. I know parts of the property, parking lot per se, had to be sold for back taxes so they could keep operating. A lot happened. There's more to NASCAR saying, no, we're not coming back right now than meets the eye. However, don't be surprised if this season goes well for the new London Waterford Speedboat, that 2018, the NASCAR banner will fly high above the Waterford Speedboat, the London Waterford Speedboat. NASCAR's funny. NASCAR does not want to be associated with problems. Even with its officials, you want good little wooden soldiers that do as they're told. Their management, they have to say the right thing. A lot of them in the ranks that run series do not make decisions without calling their, as they called it, direct report. That was one of the things that I learned. I never heard that was, in all my years of work, it was your boss, your supervisor, your manager. At NASCAR, it was your direct report. Who do you report to directly? And I always wondered why they did it that way. But anyway, having a NASCAR sanctioned racetrack, some people say it's not needed. Some people say, hey, yeah, we got to do this. And again, if you're not under the NASCAR umbrella and you get injured in a race, you're kind of on your own. And I can remember years ago signing into the New Smyrna Speedway, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. And there's a big sign over the pit sign-in window that says that. You are on your own. We do not have insurance for you if you get injured. You know, racing is a dangerous, it's like a paragraph in big letters above the sign-in window. So for those of you who say, nah, we don't need NASCAR, you do, okay, you do. And I don't always agree with NASCAR, but I do agree that when it comes to covering their drivers and their pit people, the crews, and anybody who holds that NASCAR card, whether it's a competitor, whether it's a crew member, whatever you are, you're covered by NASCAR. And I know I said that in the first 50 minutes of the show, but I'm going to say it again. But you can't be upset with NASCAR saying, we're not coming back, not this year. They didn't shut the door. They didn't say, we'll never come back. They didn't say we might not ever do a one-day sanction. But you know what? The tour schedule is out. Budgets were determined based on a schedule. To add a race mid-season is not going to happen. Let's look at 2018 for all of that good stuff to happen. Because I'll tell you, you want to have some semblance of it. And I have to wonder what they're doing at the New London Waterford Speedboat for insurance for their competitors. Car counts were down. It's open at night. Part of that reason is when the word went out they were closing, some of the guys stopped working on their cars. As crazy as it sounds, they don't want to go all the way up to Thompson. They don't want to go all the way to Stafford Springs. They're like, oh, what do we do now? So let's just sit back. A lot of sponsor deals. Hey, we need our money back. The track's closed and we're sponsoring your race that track. So a lot of that stuff was just, it has to be renegotiated. It has to be looked at, and don't worry about the low car counts. They're going to come back up. They're going to have their 20 SKs, and they're going to have their 15 to 18 late models. They're going to have what they had in the past, because now people are in scramble mode. The grandstands were packed. People want to see racing on the Connecticut shore. They want to see that. It'd be just like if we lost on Long Island, if one day there was no Riverhead, where do we go on Long Island to go racing? To go watch a race? The same problem that the drag strip guys have. Long Island needs a drag strip. That's one of their arguments, that they're tired of crossing two bridges and tunnels to go to New Jersey, go to Pennsylvania, to go upstate New York. They don't want to do that. It's too expensive. So, will things change? Like I said earlier, 2018 is a whole new season. And look for the New London Waterford Speedboat to be back under the NASCAR umbrella with NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour races and the NASCAR Wheel and All-American Series back on the Connecticut shore. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Master. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hey, I'm just scrolling through the chat room, and yeah, I'm not even going to comment. Anyway, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was at the Long Island's Riverhead Raceway this past Saturday night, and I was in attendance, although I was hobbling around. We're not even going to get into that, but I got to tell you, and it was my second time there this season. And the first time I went was a Legends/Enduro race, like opening. It wasn't even like opening day. It was like the day after the second practice or the first practice. I'm not even sure, but it was a non-point race. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that weekend. But this past weekend, let me tell you something. The facility looks awesome. The staff is dressed properly. And that was one of the things that under the last regime, the last ownership, that some of the officials dressed like, let me just put this shirt on, I get in for free, let me just go through the motions. But the staff there was dressed impeccable. The concession stands, there were, I'm not going to say there were no lines because that would be bad, but there were no lines because it moved freely. It was a whole different logistics, the way they did the concession stands and how they do them. A live band playing in a beer garden, no less. It was like you're sitting at an outdoor bar. It was awesome. It was nice. The place was packed, and it normally is for a NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour race. And even though the weather wasn't looking good, the weather held out. The weather people were right. They said, we'll have rain in the morning, and it'll be great the rest of the day, and it was. And I had a good time, and I usually help my good buddy Wade Cole, and he brought the old car down to Long Island, and because a lot of guys say it's going to get wrecked up, and then it's a bull ring. But anyway, 26 cars entered the event. There was actually 28 entered, only 26 showed up. And they were starting 28, and I got to tell you that's a little bothersome to me because there's no secret I was a NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour official for many years, and I was an official at Riverhead for many years, and I can remember 50 plus cars showing up for this event, and I remember it was advertised as the highest paying race per mile, $6,000 to win, to go 200 laps, 50 miles on a quarter-mile racetrack. But when you think back on that, it's a quarter-mile racetrack. It's 50 miles, And when you look at that, that's 50 miles is nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's 20 laps at Daytona. But anyway, it was an awesome race. There's definitely a second groove back at that facility. I haven't seen that since the place got repaved way back when, way back in the early 80s. But anyway, Long Island's Timothy Salamino was the victor there, dominating most of the race. Dave Sapienza came in second. Doug Colby third, Ryan Priest was fourth, Justin Bonsignor was fifth, trying to win it for Grandpa, Eric Goodale sixth, Rowan Pennick seventh, Tom Rogers Jr. eighth, Dylan Sawyer ninth, and Max Zeckham rounding out the top 10. Salamino, this was his third win in 2017. He's the real deal, folks, with the Flamingo Motorsports car and Eric Sanderson and that whole bunch of people. You're a good driver. You got good. You're winning championships there, and I said that when he signed on with them. Like I said, 26 cars started. There was only 7 cautions in this event. However, 7 cautions for 56 laps. NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour people, listen carefully. You need to speed up whatever it is that takes so long to get the cars relined up. Every caution doesn't need to take 6, 7, or 8 laps. It doesn't. It doesn't. A car spins. There's no cleanup. There's no cleanup. You're not sending sweepers out and blowers. There's no cleanup. And this is no reflection on the racetrack itself, because the racetrack turns this event over to the Whelen Modified Group. And I can't understand why, if the pace car, in this case truck, picks up the leaders in turn 2, right after the caution comes out. All right, so you take a lap to settle. You need to take another lap. Who's going to pit? Who's not going to pit? You get the guys in order. Why does it take 6, 7, 8 laps to do that? I don't understand it. I didn't understand it when I was in the tower. I didn't understand it when I was an inspector. I don't understand it now as a person who watches the races. You got a simple spin. The guy goes into the infield. Why even throw a caution for a guy who's sitting in the infield out of harm's way is beyond me. But anyway, there's no need for that. Those 56 laps could have been easily cut down in half, and especially with transponders. Okay, boom. You look at the computer. Look at them. All right, 46 in front of the 52, 10 in front of the 9. Let's go racing. There's no pit road. Yeah, you have to pit and go through and around and all that kind of good stuff. They let them pit right behind the wall in turns 3 and 4. You get them right back out. It's just something that I don't understand, and I just don't get it. But it was an awesome race, an awesome, awesome race. You know, you had Timmy Solomino dominated the race with Justin Bonsignor, Ryan Priest, Doug Colby, 1, 2, 3, 4, most of the race. And all of a sudden, Long Island's Dave Sapienza is like challenging for the win. Where did he come from? And you look at that and you're like, wow, this was a race. It wasn't a parade. And I say that sometimes at modified tour race. You start the fastest guy up front. They're lapping the tail end, 10, 15 laps into it, and it's a parade without music. But this was a race, side by side, Nerf ball to Nerf ball, wheel to wheel racing. Nobody taking people out on purpose. Were there some incidents? Absolutely. I know the back of the pack got checked up and somebody drove over the back of somebody else, and it happens. However, the racing was awesome. If you've ever seen a modified tour race, and I've been watching modified tour racing almost 40 years. Back when they ran them at Riverhead on Wednesday nights. The big races that ISUP used to have in the 70s and the 80s. And you know, all those years as an official, from quarter-mile bull rings to New Hampshire. This had to be, and I'm going to say this, one of the best, exciting, modified races I've ever seen. You didn't need a seat. You were on your feet. You were standing. You were cheering. Even in the mid-pack, as the passing was going on, and with the double file restarts, man, oh man, it was awesome. It was an awesome race. Awesome race. But one of the things I did notice, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but 15 of the 26 starters have Long Island roots. Whether the driver's a Long Island guy or the car owner is a Long Island person, more than half the field was Long Island people. Now, you can go back. Man, let's just go back a few years ago, go back to 2012. There was 5 tour regulars from Long Island. When I say regulars, they were there every week without fail. Donnie Leah, Justin Bonsignor, Brian Chu, and Ken Hagee. Gary McDonough was a semi-regular. Johnny Bush was a semi-regular, but they weren't there every week. Those guys I just named, Leah, Bonsignor, Chu, Hagee, were there every week. You know, just 5 years ago. Go back to 2007. You had Leah, Kevin Goodale, Glenn Tyler, and Tony Ferrante. Wow. Donnie Leah was the champ, driving for the Bob Garbarino Mystic Missile, pocketing $153,000 in purse money and contingency money. It was different. 20 cars were going home, minimum, every week, every race. The difference between you had the pole or you were on the trailer going home was usually 0.25 seconds, a quarter of a second was pole or home. It was a competitive field. I saw somebody put on social media something about slugs. You know, take the slugs out of this, and you have 8 cars, right? Because I don't know what a slug is in racing, because if you're going to the events and you have cars and you have motors and tires and a crew, you're not a slug. You're not a slug. You are just an average driver, mid-pack maybe back in the pack, but you're there. And the person that made the comment on social media, I don't believe, I could be mistaken, never raced a race car. I have no right to call any competitor a slug. Just saying. But you know, you look at that, you look at where all the cars go. Well, I'll tell you what, and I see, you know, Kevin at Long Island Need the Speed is making his comments about how he feels about NASCAR. I don't believe it's NASCAR's fault totally. What it is these other touring series, the Valente Modified Series, the Modified Touring Series, and all these other little spring up modified groups that are coming up, they sold a package to some of these competitors. They sold a package and said, hey guys, listen, come race with us, you're gonna save money. Now, if money's the issue, as a businessman, okay, I'll go save some money. I'll definitely go save some money. So you go race these other series. And I remember when the Valente series came out, we were at Thompson at the World Series, and Chad Little was the series director, and he says to me, go down, because Thompson divides the garage up, you know, here the tour mods here, this division here, that, but way out by the mountain was the Valente series. So he asked me, go out there, go back there, and tell me how many cars I got. Well, they had about 10 more than we did, 10 more than we did, and I believe they had close to 40 cars. More than half of those drivers were former tour regulars. And then you get to talk to them, and like, listen, we run one-day shows. We come in, we race, we go home. Some of these NASCAR events are 3 days. You don't need a day to park haulers. Then you don't need a day for tech and practice and more practice. And then the third day, practice, time trial, race. You don't need that. You don't need that. 1 day. Saves a lot of money. Saves hotels. You could leave at 4 in the morning if you have to travel, and you know it becomes a 24-hour day, not 72 hours. But when you look at that, you know, and I know, you know, somebody just said it, the cost is cheaper to run. It is to a degree. You're still going to Troya for your chassis. You're still running, you know, 4 tires. However, in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, in some events, you could buy up to 10. You could buy 20 if you want, but you can only bring 10. to your pit stall that you could use. Or there's 4 on the car, 4 spares, and an emergency. Every race is different. The fuel is the same. The motors are the same. Where the cost savings is the 1 day. There's no pit stops. So you don't have to have 5, 6 people in fire suits and helmets and gloves and shoes. The licensing is so much cheaper. It's just under $400 to get a NASCAR Touring Series license, whether you're a driver or a crew member. And where some of these other series, it's like $25 or it's $100 for the whole team, and you're limited. And like Jason says, you don't need 10 tires, But when you look at it, it's the guys on the teams that are buying all the tires that are doing so much better. See, the low buck guys, the Wade Coles, the Gary McDonald's, when they go, they're going to get 4, maybe 6 tires. The 4 on the car and an emergency tire or 1. And they got to make that work with their staggers and their air pressures, where other teams, they're playing around with tires, and they have a relationship with the tire distributor. This one isn't working, we need another one. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. And the cost, like I said, that's where the cost is. It's the tires. Everything else is the same. It's the same pit fee, same dollar amount per fuel. The motors are the same, the chassis are the same, whether you go to Troy or a CD or whoever you go to, LFR, they're all the same. Unless you're on a deal, that's a whole different story. But Joe Blow going to buy a modified, no matter what series he's going to race, if he gets a roller car, a roller means everything is there. All that's missing is the driver. That's all the same. It's all the residual cost, like I said. The pit crews, the travel, the overnights, the hotels. That's where you get kept, But what are you going to do? When it comes to these touring series, I think NASCAR needs to wake up. NASCAR needs to see what these other people are doing and try to work off that. I know Phil Kurz, who's the Wheeling Engineering Vice President and President of Motorsports Marketing for Wheeling Engineering. That's one of his pet peeves. I've spoke to him so many times, and he said, listen, we can't take a week off from work to go racing because these are working guys. The car owners might not be. Some of the drivers are, and most of the crew is. Yeah, there's a couple of 2, 3 crew chiefs that are full-time crew chiefs. They get paid by the car owner to do this. But for the most part, they're like Jay says, they're mostly working class guys that just want to go racing on the weekend. And that's what it's all about. And to take a week off from work to go to Bristol to race in the middle of the week. Come on, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. New Hampshire, you got to be there on Wednesday to race Saturday. There's something wrong with that picture. And that's one of the things that people don't like about the modified tour. And that's just where it is. And anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have the results for the Cup and the Xfinity real quick when we come back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on.
Or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, welcome back. All right, yes, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series was at Sonoma this past weekend, road course. I don't know about you guys, but I just can't watch a road course race on TV. Yeah, if I was there and I was up on the hillside with my blanket spread out, my picnic basket, my bottle of wine, my cheese and crackers, that's a whole different story. But sitting on the couch or the recliner with a cold beer and a sandwich doesn't work. But anyway, Kevin Harvick took the win at Sonoma with Clint Boyer second, Brad Keselowski was third, Denny Hamlin fourth, followed by Kyle Busch, who was fifth, Dale Earnhardt Jr. sixth, Kurt Busch seventh, Chase Elliott eighth, Ryan Blaney ninth, and Jamie McMurray rounding out the top 10. Kyle Larson, the pole sitter, finished 26th, one lap down, and only 38 of the 40 scheduled to start, only 38 cars showed up. And next week we're going to talk about their issues as well. Post-race, Kyle Busch, 2 loose lug nuts. Rules state, $20,000 fine for the team and a 1-race suspension for crew chief Ben Beshore, who was replacing regular full-time crew chief Adam Steves, who was serving a 4-week suspension for an issue he had 5 weeks ago. Dale Earnhardt Jr., while in Sonoma, reflected on his 17-year career. And one of the things he said, it's not the fact that he's retiring that's going to bother him. What's going to bother him is what are the people going to say about him when he's gone? He wants people to say he was a good driver, he was a clean driver, he was good to the fans, you know. But he also left the door open. I'm not getting out of racing. Don't be surprised to see him in an Xfinity car just doing some laps. Just doing some laps. Anyway, the Xfinity Series was in Iowa. Iowa, beautiful place, I'll tell you. I loved working there. William Byron was the winner. Ryan Sieg was second. Tyler Reddick third. Russ Chiston was fourth. Dakota Armstrong fifth. Michael Annett sixth. Jeremy Clements seventh. Elliott Sadler eighth. Justin Allgaier ninth. And Garrett Smithley rounding out the top 10. Christopher Bell had the pole. He finished 16th on the lead lap. The next event for the Xfinity Series will be in Daytona this coming Friday night, and the Cup Series will be there Saturday night for the race that used to be called the Firecracker 400, run on the 4th of July. Now it's run as close to the 4th of July as they can. The Camping World Truck Series was also at Iowa. John Hunter Nemechek was the winner there. Johnny Sorda second. Brandon Jones was third. Grant Enfinger fourth. Christopher Bell fifth. Noah Gregson sixth from the pole. Chase Briscoe seventh. Austin Cindrus was eighth. Jesse Little, a guest on our show a couple of years back, was ninth. And Justin Haley was 10th. The next stop for the Camping World Truck Series will be this Thursday evening in Kentucky. So that's all good and well there is good. So anyway, a lot of racing stuff going on. We're into the heart of the summer, whether it's the weekly tracks or the big guys, but there's a lot of racing going on all over the place. And I'm going to say this before we wrap up. We're going to wrap up in a couple of seconds. Your local short track, support it. Because when it's gone, it's gone. Don't be like the people up in New London Waterford Speedboat who were all up in arms that the place was closing. You see, you know, they complained about it, complained about management, this, that, and the other thing. But when it looked like it was done, they weren't happy. They got the word it was open, they went out and drove. Support your local racetrack, because that's what it's all about. Your local racetrack. Support the guys and gals from your neighborhood that is out there racing, that live in your community, that you work with, that you see, that you talk. Help them out. Get involved. There's nothing better than helping somebody on a pit crew. Sometimes it's as simple as going to get the lineup. Going to get the lineup, you know. It's just support your local racetrack. Support your local racetrack. And you know what? It took me a long time to figure that one out myself. You know, if there's something you don't like, talk to the powers to be. Don't blow it up on social media. If it's something you like, blow it up on social media. Anyway, wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this week, please be safe. Please be careful. Tell somebody you love them. Give them a hug. God bless you all. We'll see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.